In the Philippines of the 19th century, a simple school teacher became an average housewife. An average housewife became a great leader of men. A great leader of men became a general, who never received official military recognition. But the nation she fought so hard to defend does remember and honor her as a hero and general. Her students remember her as a strict disciplinarian. In other words, do what you're told, give it your all, or suffer the consequences. Child or soldier, nobody wanted to land on that school teacher's naughty list. She probably didn't know that her teaching methods would help guide her to instrumental roles in fighting against 3 major colonizers. But that's what happened. Teresa Magbanua was born in 1868 to a wealthy family in Iloilo, Philippines. Her sister remembered her as precocious, with a dynamic personality, a restless spirit, and one who held no fear of any man. Teresa received the best education available to girls at the time. She got her teaching certificate from the Colegio de San Jose in Iloilo. From there, she went on to Manila, where she studied at 3 different schools, finally earning her master's degree in teaching from the University of Santo Tomas in 1894. With that degree, she headed right back to Iloilo to teach. But 4 years later, she took a new position and transferred farther north. But it wasn't all teaching there. She also met the man who became her husband in 1898. His name was Alejandro Balderas. After they were married, she quit her job and became a housewife. They never had kids. Well, housewife is a little bit of an understatement. See, hubby was a wealthy landowner, and Teresa held down the fort. She worked the land alongside the peasants. I know a wealthy person who gave a shit. Anyway, she taught herself to be a great horsewoman. She also taught herself to be a sharpshooter, with both. And she also became an expert with the bolo. In case you didn't know what that is, a bolo is a traditional Philippine agricultural tool, kind of like a machete. You use it to cut down vegetation and shit like that. Turns out it's just as useful for cutting down the enemy. Now, in 1898, while Teresa was honing her skills on her husband's land, the Philippine Revolution began. See, because after hundreds of years of Spanish colonization, Filipinos were over it and planning to serve Spain a final eviction notice. Teresa's family was already involved with the Katipunan, short for, believe me, it's better I didn't try to say. They were a revolutionary group formed in 1892 by a group of Filipino nationalists, including Andres Bonifacio. He came to be called the father of the Philippine Revolution. Teresa's 2 younger brothers, Pascual and Elias, became ranking officers. There was also her uncle, Major General Perfecto Poblador. He commanded local forces, and Teresa paid him a visit. She deeply loved her country and wanted to fight alongside the men. Imagine that! She wanted to see her country's flag unfurled in independence with no other flying above it. Yeah, but she was a woman, Mary. What makes you think that a woman could do great things on the battlefield? Well, Teresa was not very good at taking no for an answer. To quote a source, her insistence and determination won over anybody who doubted her. So she told her husband where he could stick his opinion and wore down her uncle, until finally he put her in charge of a fairly large battalion of Bolo troops, making her the only woman rebel leader of the Visayas. He did not regret his decision. Spoiler alert, women do great things on the battlefield. Teresa more than proved herself. She displayed, quote, remarkable courage, strategic acumen, and unwavering dedication to the cause of Filipino independence. Okay, but what does that mean? Well, there was her leadership style. She maintained high morale among her troops by talking the talk with inspirational speeches, and walking the walk by never asking her troops to do anything she herself wouldn't do. Sources said her men were almost fanatical in their willingness to serve under her. That's probably because of things like her military tactics. See, because if you ever wanted to find Naisa, as she came to be affectionately called by her men, you better pull up your big boy pants and go to the front, because that's where she usually was, engaged in open combat. She employed guerrilla tactics, made more effective by her unparalleled knowledge of the area. You know, strategic positioning and all. She was decisive, unafraid, adapted to battlefield conditions quickly and efficiently. Basically, she proved it ain't the size of the gun, it's how you use it. She led troops to many decisive victories. 3 of the best known include the Battle of Barrio Yoting against the Spanish, the Battle of Sapong Hills, also against the Spanish, and the Siege of Iloilo against the United States. Anyway, I said 3 major colonizers, and every single one of them landed on Naisa's naughty list. So she showed them why that was fucking stupid. In one of those battles against Spain, she rode on horseback to lead her 700 Bolo troops, who defeated about 400 better armed Spaniards. Immediately after that, another decisive victory. Because of, well, everything, she eventually earned another moniker, the Visayan Joan of Arc, without all the battle armor. Just saying. The Spanish were eventually driven out in 1898, during a little conflict that you may have been taught about called the Spanish-American War, the name of which conspicuously excludes the Philippines, despite that both of them wanted the Philippines. And the Spanish were replaced by, quote, a far more sinister foreign invader. See, because when the Treaty of Paris was signed, the United States took up the mantle and colonized the Philippines. They did unspeakable things. Still, at first, Filipinos thought that was going to mean independence. But hey, the leadership of this country always ends up showing its true colors. So as with many others, Teresa's revolutionary activities shifted to them, the second major colonizer. She stood against them during the Philippine-American War. That raged from 1899 to 1902. American forces were more technologically advanced. So she adapted guerrilla warfare and fought. Eventually, the U.S. took control of Iloilo City. She fell back, reclaiming the city of Jaro during the Battle of Balatong. Sources said she rode in front of her troops astride a white horse, and citizens and soldiers alike cheered her on. Through 1899, she defended Jaro against Americans. But tragedy struck. Her brothers, remember them? Each passed away under suspicious circumstances. At the time, Teresa was in her 30s. Pascual, 24. Elias, 19. It was a massive blow, so she doubled down. Employed even better guerrilla tactics. But after a series of defeats, she was forced to surrender her troops to the Americans in 1900. The great general went back to farming and being an average housewife, and for literal decades lived a basically quiet life until World War II. And the third colonizer arrived. Yeah, Japan. She was in her 70s by then. If she hadn't been, she'd probably been back on that white horse leading another battalion. Her hubby passed away not long after the invasion, after which Naisa dedicated herself to another revolution. She sold everything. House, land, belongings, everything. She used the money to supply the guerrillas. Food, ammo, you get it. She provided, quote, constant financial support to the guerrilla movement, making her instrumental to the cause once again. When Japan was defeated and removed from the Philippines in 1946, the U.S. granted nominal independence to the Philippines. And, quote, she saw the Philippine flag raised high once more without any other flags above it. And that was enough for her. But seriously, nominal independence. Isn't it great how the leadership of this country has just always told other people how they're allowed to run their own country? It's fucking disgraceful. Teresa Magbanua passed away just 1 year later in 1947, just shy of her 79th birthday. Her patriotism and valor, as I said, were never officially recognized by the military. And some sources say that even today, her story is not widely known. But there are people who know the truth and are spreading the truth and remembering her, the great general, the national hero. She's included in Philippine history books as a notable revolutionary figure. There was a 100 peso commemorative coin released. A statue was erected in 2019. And in 2022, the BRP Teresa Magbanua set sail, the largest modern ship in the Philippine Coast Guard. There are awards given to teachers in her name. And each year in Iloilo on her birthday, October 13th, Teresa Magbanua Day is observed. You know why? Because she led soldiers into battle for her people's freedom rather than for her own glory. Oh, but I forgot. Women don't do great things on the battlefield.